Hi everyone, so today I wanted to do my talk on one of the chapters of the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And the chapter that I had read today was focusing basically on the law of the elastic band and how we have to stretch ourselves in order to reach our goals. So with me, because I've had so many different types of roles and types of jobs, I've had a lot of opportunities to stretch my skills, to learn new skills, and to learn how to adapt to different environments. I haven't had the blessing of sitting in one company or one field my whole life and specializing in that field, specializing in that area and growing in it. But I've had things that have been consistent, so I've had the opportunity to use my administration skills, to use my people skills, to use my HR skills within my role. But there's been other things that I've had to learn to adjust to and to do, which I've never had to do before, with project management, with tracking deliverables, with dealing with different teams. So for example, when I worked at HSBC, the team I managed was not in Toronto, the team was in Vancouver. So I had the director above me that I reported to, and then my team reported into me. One of the things that I had to adjust to on that team was that many of the people that I was working with did not have English as their first language. So sometimes we had to have an interpreter. Their first language might have been Spanish, or it could have been Hindi, a completely different language. And so we had to have an interpreter tell me what they were saying, what they were experiencing as challenges on the job. And then I had to note those and report on them. So it's very different, very hard. I was dealing with different time zones because we are ahead of BC, of Ontario. And also I was dealing with teams in England. I had people in England who were reporting into me in the banking sector. And what we were looking at was basically revamping the HSBC website and bringing it up to communication standards that were required. So it's very hard when you go into that kind of position and you're only going to be there for 3 months. And in that time, you have to deliver these things. And of course, Michael Carter was very upset when they had to let me go, because I was a valued member of the team and my team liked me, and everybody was shocked when they let me go. But unfortunately, that's how it works with projects. You're there for a time, you do the job, and then you move on. The police investigation was part of the reason that they let me go. And it was unfortunate because my managers fought for me. They fought to keep me and they couldn't keep me. And I didn't have that support from HR. So HR protected the company by refusing to tell the police what was happening. But in the end, they did a disservice to themselves. Because what happens in cases like this where there's things going on, it's not only me experiencing it, there's other people experiencing it too. And these situations, I talk about mine, I'm open about it, but other people sue companies and they get big compensation packages and they land up getting the truth out of them. So these are the things that happen when you are doing stretch assignments. And it's very hard. I used to commute almost an hour and a half to get to the office, if not longer, and an hour and a half to come back. And that's what you have to do in Canada to get a job sometimes. Now I request, when I look for jobs, I try to find something closer to home or downtown, something within reason, so that I can maintain my health. But when I had my health good, I used to commute. I used to commute 3 hours sometimes to go to work, to come home. And you do something in that time. You don't just go to sleep. Like you read on the bus or you listen to a podcast. These are all ways to stretch yourself and to grow. the old way of doing things is that you relied on the company. So you could be guaranteed that your company would always help you as a top performer. They would make sure that you got rewarded. They would praise you for your work. They would help you to get into good paying jobs. They would help you with rewards for tenure and loyalty. And they stopped doing that around 2007. They stopped doing that in Canada. So basically you have to treat your life as you are the CEO of your life and your career. And you have to invest in it. You have to pay for your professional dues. You have to look for good opportunities. And if you're fortunate, you might land up staying in a company for a long time, but it's very rare. Mostly people will change jobs after 5-6 years, they'll change. So for me, it was disappointing that I couldn't stay with Teleperformance, because it actually landed up being my dream job, because I got to work at home. Once my job was done, my job was done. I didn't have to put together anything after that. I didn't have to do research. I didn't have to come up with the policies. All the things I did in other companies, I didn't have to do in this job. I had to know where to go to look for what information and provide it to the customers. So that's what I enjoyed about it. There were other jobs I had where I was revamping policies and procedures. So I had to know which websites to go to, where to get the information, and then put that into a readable format for the companies. I did it at Regis Library for their security policies, and I've done it in other companies. So I haven't only worked on setting up meetings, sending out invites, and getting presentations together. I've done a lot of different stretch assignments, and we have to look for those opportunities. Yes, we can apply our skills and we can hopefully get jobs where we can use our best skills and talents, but there are also opportunities to grow within the company. And also when I worked for Teleperformance, I didn't only work on one campaign. So I worked on IT, I worked on sports campaigns, betting campaigns. I worked on a lot of different opportunities. And you have to adjust. Every time you get something different, something new, you have to adjust, you have to learn. So when they talk about the law of the elastic band, that's what they mean. You have to be willing to stretch yourself, and then you come back to normal. And that's how it's done here. I know that in a lot of jobs, when I came here from England, I used to always try to do more than was expected. And they used to tell me, you can't do that. And when I mentor people, that's one of the things I tell them. In Canada, you can't do that. Maybe in America, people look for that. They like you to do more because that shows them that you're interested, that you're willing to go the extra mile. Here, you don't get rewarded for it. Just do what they tell you. If you do only what they tell you, you'll be very successful. Canada is not a place where they want you to excel and do more and do more than they expected. They'll tell you you're showing off. So that's a difference between England and South Africa, Zimbabwe, and here. Because even in Zimbabwe, we always try to do more. We always try to go the extra mile. They don't like it when you do that here. So that's one of the hardest things I had to learn. Just do exactly what they tell you. Don't do anything more than what they're asking you to do. And then the other thing is that I was very sad to see that out of the G7 nations, we are faring the worst. I'm not surprised, but it is very disappointing to see. So the US is growing, other countries are growing, but we are the worst, even worse than England in terms of how we're faring compared to other G7 nations. To be honest with you, I'm not surprised because of the way things are being run in organizations. I mean, good people can't get jobs. We're losing our jobs. They don't find other opportunities for us. Clients are moving their work back to the US or to South Africa. And people that work hard are just not getting the rewards. We're not getting the breaks. So it's really sad to see that that's what Canada's come to. And I know when I came here, I didn't expect it to be like this, because it just seems to be an ongoing situation where it's getting worse and worse every year. It's getting harder and harder. So like everybody else, if I get an opportunity somewhere else in America or in another place to earn a good living, I'm prepared to go. But in the meantime, I am applying for jobs here, and I go out, I look for work. You'll find that in Canada, like people have seen when I post my photos and all that, when I'm at home, I wear my makeup, I wear perfume. When I go out, I don't do that, because people here have lots of allergies. So you have to be considerate of others. Today I was coming into my unit, and the elevator was stinking of perfume. It was really, really strong. So, you know, there's things like that that you have to adjust to when you come to Canada. Also, people have peanut allergies, or they have food allergies. So some people carry an EpiPen with them. We didn't have all that in Zimbabwe. So when you come here, you have to adjust to that. That's also stretching, law of the elastic band, because it's something we've never heard of. I think over there, because people are eating less processed foods, they're eating more natural foods, they're not eating things that have additives in them. You don't have all these complications with health. But as they build up Africa and they invest in Africa, I'm sure all those things that we have here will also start happening there. So that's what I read today on the law of elastic band, and how we have to stretch ourselves, grow ourselves, and also be aware of how there are differences between the countries we came from and where we're living as immigrants. And just be aware that if you are working in Canada, just do what they ask you. Don't do anything extra. And that's the advice that I've given all of my mentees, and all of them have done well who I've mentored. I said to them, don't do anything extra. Just do what they tell you. And they're like, oh, well, that's not how it is in India. That's not how it is in UK. I said, yeah, I know it's not how it is there. But here, just do what they tell you, because they are very harsh on people, and you don't want to lose your job. If you do one little thing wrong, they'll fire you, they'll give you a warning. So just do what they tell you. And even like when they used to give me coaching on my voice, they used to say, oh, don't speak like that. Do you hear how you sound here? You mustn't talk like that. You must lower your voice. So I told people, and they're like, this is ridiculous. We're also human beings. I'm like, no. That's what you have to do. If that's what the client wants, you have to listen to them, and you'll do very well in the call center if you listen to them and you adjust. It was hard for me also. I also had to adjust to it. But I learned, and I adjusted my voice. I wasn't a normal person on the job. I changed. They told me to speak soft, I speak soft. They told me to speed it up, I sped it up. You just become like a robot. You do exactly what they tell you to do. And leave your personality at home. If you want to succeed, learn the culture, learn the environment of the company and what their expectations are. And then that way we can come up. All you have to do is watch that story, that movie, The Devil Wears Prada, and see who the successful people are. Watch how they do things. Their marriages might break down, their families might break down, everything else might break down, but they got the money. So you have to choose what you want. And for me, I needed my jobs. Whatever little money I had or earned, I needed it. I'm not making the decisions there. I'm not the one influencing the culture. Whatever little I could do to help people, to bring in a more merciful culture and to bring in a more gentler culture, I did. But the rest is not up to me. So that's the chapter, and that's what we read on. And there's John Maxwell's teachings are good, but there's the company has to also be open and receptive to having that kind of a culture there. And if they're not, then they're not. You can't force people, you can't force this kind of merciful culture on companies. They have to be open to it. And when they are open to it and they build those relationships, they build trust, things change and the companies flourish. But if they don't want it, they don't want it. Let them carry on rewarding and praising the people who are doing the money laundering, who are creating 10 societies in Canada, who are promoting drugs like popcorn. Unfortunately, the rest of us suffer. They say when you're dead, you don't know, you can't feel the pain. It's the same thing when you're stupid. Everybody else around you suffers. And the people who are doing good are not getting the rewards. Unfortunately, that's the situation we're in right now. And we pray and hope it changes. But all we can do is to hold on to our values.